How does a golf course go from this to this? The season ends, the trees die, the ground freezes, the snow falls as winter approaches. Who's responsible for this transformation? And exactly how do they do it? This is Behind the Greens, the Offseason, presented by Truly Hard Seltzer.
I think we'd be busy 8 days a week if there were 8 days in the week. So that kind of sums it up, I think.
It never ends. The work we have out here never ends, and the more resources you have, the more work there is to do.
These are the types of things that prepare the golf course to open up and be in great shape for the next season.
We start in Southampton, Long Island, where a snowstorm begins to coat the grounds at National Golf Links of America, most recently ranked as the 4th best course in the country. Winter is here, and the 5 members of the maintenance crew living on property are greeted with a frigid start to their day.
I just tried to get the snow off the edges and at least in a place where we can come move it later with the bucket loader. And my boss is right here. He doesn't like much snow laying around, so we end up having to come knock down all these edges.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a mess.
All right. I'll go back. I'm going to go open up the other road down to Lounge Shop.
Okay.
This old shop, all right?
All right. That's Bill. He's the superintendent here. And we just repaved this road. In the last 2 weeks, we've been sodding the edges of the road to fix the transition. So I'm going to try not to rip it all up. The guys would not like that. Yeah, so this is not your typical Hamptons weather, is it?
It's Long Island's worst snowstorm of the year. But a benefit for the crew at National is that they don't have to travel to work. They live there. Local government even declared a state of emergency, but the work must go on. Such as the daily duty of raising the American flag atop the iconic windmill.
Stairs get me every single time. The Dutch just had to build them so steep. Might get blown off of the balcony. The view up here certainly never gets old. It's a little easier when it's not gusting sideways. The clips are frozen. So are my fingers.
Braving the elements doesn't just apply to the assistants on the crew. Meet Head Superintendent Bill Salanetti.
This is my 18th season. I was an assistant at Wingfoot for, well, I was there for 8 years, eight or 9 seasons. And then I moved, then I got a head super job up in New Hampshire. I was up there for 5 years and then ended up here and been here ever since.
Today, like most days, Bill is out on the course surveying the conditions. As he's checking the drifts, Bill says something about snow that just might surprise you.
When it comes to snow and ice, and hopefully we don't get a lot of ice, but a little bit of snow cover is actually good. We like a little bit of snow cover in the winter if we can get it. It just helps insulate the turf, especially on a site like this that's so windy. It's tough on the turf. A lot of times we'll have damage just from the wind over the course of the winter. They called snow the poor man's fertilizer back. That's what you talk to an old farmer, and that's what they always say. It's poor man's fertilizer is good snow cover. As long as we don't have big fluctuations in temperature where we get ice, it's not a bad thing at all. Not bad at all.
We now travel about 70 miles west of Southampton, where just 2 weeks earlier the crew at Glen Head Country Club carried out one of their most important tasks of the off-season.
Yeah, so today's process, the drill and fill and aeration, really to help improve drainage throughout the green. Drainage is everything, right? Get the green to drain better, it can be firmer, you get deeper rooting. And roots are really important because, that's the surface of the green, right? It's really what goes on below the surface. That's what's most important.
This is our drill and fill machine. So what this sand does is basically drills down, comes back up, and shoots sand, dry sand, through the tubes into the hole that it just made. So the sand is brought by the workers or the staff into the hopper right here, dry sand by the bucket, and as the machine goes down and comes back up, the operator will release the lever, the sand will come down through these tubes and out the bottom and fill the hole that it just made.
All right, try it again. That's even deeper. Yeah. It's better. That's better. It's still 2.5 inches.
This guy's gonna go 18, 9, 6, 7, just keep leapfrogging like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically what I was doing there, after they're done with the drill and fill, we're gonna go behind them with an aerator and just solid tine, basically just poking holes. And so what we're left with is just a lot of place for the excess sand to go. So we had to adjust the machine a little bit. It was a little deep and you could see the turf was actually lifting and heaving. So just trying to adjust that a little bit and get him situated.
So what we're doing here is going over with a 5/8 solid tine over the drill and fill. Just trying to put an extra hole in, open it up a bit more so we can get some sand into that organic matter, into that layer. just trying to get these things good for next year. And people think it's just friggin' growing grass. Doing shit like this, people wouldn't think about how it affects the greens. It is cool. You know, you do see those tangible results when it comes next year, and the greens are good. You know, I've got a goal of 10,000 steps a day, so this helps.
The final step in the process is a simple, yet tedious one. Like a Zamboni, Lockridge will circle the green with a brush, sweeping any excess sand into the holes.
It's a necessary evil, aeration. You know, you don't want to do it because it's added work, added complaint. But yet you know it makes everything so much better. Really helps to make the green so much better. Every aeration you do, every time I do drill and fill, the green gets just a little bit better. And seeing that over the long term, you start to see greens go from your worst greens to some of your best greens, and things just get easier. You have more sand in the profile. It really does help the green. Helps dilute the organic matter, helps the drainage. And that's it for now. We'll come back again, toss a little more sand, maybe make some amendment applications to the green, and brush it in a final time. And that'll be all she wrote. Wrap it up for the winter time.
Green aeration is so incredibly important at this time of the year, but drill and fill isn't the only way. On the very same day, just 25 minutes down the road in Garden City, they perform a process called dry-jacked.
A lot of work goes into it, and I'd say that this is more the culmination of, we've been going pretty heavy for 5 years here, working a lot of sand, aeration, and doing cultural practices to get up to today's standards and golf course maintenance, and to meet golfer expectations. With this process, we're hitting 7 to 8, maybe even 9 inches down deep. I believe it's like a 3,000 PSI jet of water that creates that hole. In doing this, being aggressive with modifying our root zone is one thing we've had to do to stay current and be able to maintain those conditions.
There's only one way to know exactly what the dry-jacked is doing underground. So Evan grabs his soil profiler to see the results.
So as you can see, it shattered this heavy soil profile. So we're happy. We know we're pouring a lot of sand into here, and we're creating lots of channels for water and air and roots. So this is exactly what we're looking for with this process.
Grass maintenance isn't the only thing that goes on during the off-season. Clubs will often use this time to make physical changes to the layout of the course as well. The crew at Cherry Valley Club is doing exactly that. The project is to redesign the shape and look of the par 5 second hole. This reconstruction includes adding bunkers, cutting down trees, and a brand new tee box location.
It's a difficult hole. It's a tough hole for higher handicappers because you got to drive the ball a long way. It's a tough hole for lower handicappers because there's real no way to cut the dogleg off, and it's a true 3-shot hole that we want to make it more of a risk reward. So we're going to move the tee from here about 20 yards over here to the right and just soften the angle up a little bit, make it more of a risk reward. Take a bunch of trees down at the corner that are protecting the corner, replace them with bunkers and fescue. So over there, which used to be all fescue, kind of a mound with fescue about 6 feet high, which is a lost ball. We're going to push that whole mound back, extend the fairway a little bit, so that even if you do hit driver and you come out of it a little bit, it's not going to be an easy layup, but at least you're not going to have a lost ball the way you used to.
Trying to build this berm so it has a little movement, kind of turn a hole a little bit. I think we're getting the height to what we want, but when we're standing back at the tee, you can see all this dirt up here. I started this area this morning, and if all goes well with the weather, I expect to have the majority of it done by Saturday. That's just the right side. Left side of the hole will start next week. Yeah, so we've been here just over the last few weeks. We've aerated greens, tees, fairways. We're aerating rough. A few weeks ago, everything got fertilized. We'll start to we're raising the heights a little bit to get ready for winter, make sure the turf has the best chance of surviving. We're doing maintenance still on irrigation system. So there's always maintenance on equipment, and then you throw in the project here. Anything underground, we have to try to find, move. We're moving a lot of wires on the bunkers on 14. So there's always, I think we'd be busy 8 days a week if there were 8 days in the week. So that kind of sums it up, I think.
We're back at National Golf Links of America, where the final trace of snow has melted away for the winter. We caught the crew on a special day as they're performing one of the more unique operations you'll ever see on a golf course. The burn.
Back in the early days of the club, they burned every winter. This is what they did, they burned. And this is a good way to control the growth. And what it does is it cleans up the amount of thatch and what they call the fuel load. So it's actually something that the state encourages us to do. So we get a permit through the state, and we have a window that we can burn in every year. And it usually takes us about 7 or 8 days to burn most of the rough.
Merrill's been burning here for 47 years. He's worked here, so he knows. And it's really just take it slow, work with the wind, and the good days are when the wind stays at the same direction. Sucks when the wind starts switching on you. If it does, say, switch to the south right now on us, we'd probably put it out and then start down there and work our way back up. Because when the fire runs, it doesn't run in a straight line. It will go in like triangles and stuff, so then you have to come back and burn those areas. So it's a lot easier when you back burn.
All we do is we have propane torches that the guys get the fire started with, and then they just take an iron rake, and these guys just move the fire along with an iron rake and just They just burn in a straight line right across. And you can see we got a couple guys over here that'll start another little area off to the side, but we keep everybody contained in the same spot for the most part.
Here, I'll catch you up. But yeah, we backburn everything, so, you know, down into the wind. And it's nice, once we get started, we have a nice gap here. There's less to worry about.
What we do around the perimeter of the golf course is we cut what they call a burn break, and we'll water those areas down so it doesn't get too close to the tree lines around the property. So it's pretty safe, and you can see the fire doesn't move very fast. It actually moves pretty slow, but you can see it burns really close to the ground, and it gets all that vegetation, burns it off really clean.
So after this, you know, tomorrow or the next day we'll come out, we'll roll these areas. We have a big giant cast iron roller, and that helps knock the ash down and into the ground, you know, because this is actually fertilizer for the turf. And then, you know, with it being black and stuff, it really collects the sunlight, so it really warms these areas up. And, you know, depending on the weather, 2 weeks, these areas will be perfectly green, much greener than anything else that wasn't burned. So it's pretty cool to see it come along as we get closer to opening day.
Spring is around the corner. The golf season is in sight. As we step back onto the tee box and look upon the luscious greenery all around us, remember what it took. Let us not forget that when the courses were closed, their work had just begun. While it may have been your off-season, it was not theirs.